the advocacy group, Every Town for Gun Safety, teamed up with American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association to put together a plan to maybe reel back some of the school shooting preparedness training that goes on now in the wake of the number of school shootings that we've experienced. Now, in pulling back from this move may seem counterproductive, but actually what has been discovered is that sometimes these drills do more harm than they do good. So NPR was reporting about this, and at one point they did talk to a 17-year-old student at Palos Verdes High School out here near Los Angeles. She said when her school holds active shooter drills, it's chaos. The first time that it happened, not long after the shooting at Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida, rumors started flying over Snapchat and text that the school was actually really under attack. So about 95% of American public schools conduct some form of regular active shooter safety drill, and they sometimes call this lockdown or an active threat drill. But concerns are growing that these drills have not been proven effective in preventing violence and that they may even traumatize some students. So one example of that, back to that same student, we had some students trying to stack up desks to blockade the door. We had some students sort of joking around because they weren't sure how to handle it. And there are other students who are very, very afraid. And you can probably understand that considering some of the ways that they go about some of these trainings, which we'll get to one video after one more thought. Shannon Watts, who's the founder of Moms Demand Action for Gun Safety in America, she starts to look at some of the evidence that these drills cause trauma, whether it's anxiety or depression, sleeplessness, worsening school performance in these kids. So there are reports, Watts says, of drills getting over the top with things like teachers being shot with pellet guns, because I don't know why we need to see that. And then when we have a fire drill in school, we don't set a fire in the hallway. So one example of this, we had a story we did last May. There's a Pennsylvania school district that was doing these preparedness training drills. But the point of that story was to talk about how the perpetrator of the shooting in the drill had a headscarf on for some reason. But if you look at actually the way that they do this training, this also leads to the way that these trainings are and how it could actually affect some children. So let's take a look at that video.
To make sure our teachers are doing what they're supposed to do in event of a real emergency.
Show me your hand! Show me your hand now! There's a shooter in the building, shooter in the building. Please don't full lockdown. Full lockdown.
Either confront and apprehend the actor, or we need to neutralize the actor.
My role in the safety drill was the active shooter. I started upstairs in the science department and busted into classrooms and fired off shots.
Without any notice, the shooter came into the room and shot right at me, and I immediately screamed.
And understand their role in that process until we can neutralize any potential threat or any real threat that's in the building. It's dealt with effectively, efficiently.
So this is how the training tends to go. I'm sure every one of these is different. And last graphic on this. If you think about it, the school security industry that does these types of trainings is worth reported $3 billion. So Guy Grace with the Partner Alliance for Safer Schools, an educator and industry partnership, insists that twice a year, active shooter drills for students are an important piece of violence prevention. But they also said it's not about scaring kids or scaring the staff. It's about empowering staff and being able to respond to a multitude of situations.
Yeah, no, I vote no. So look, I think it's a really interesting question as to whether we should even do any drills, because I'm worried. I got young kids in school, and so I think we're accidentally traumatizing and terrorizing all of them because we're telling them you're all about to get shot any second and be careful. Now, the real problem is that there are a ton of school shootings and we should actually do gun regulation, but the NRA has bought the entire Republican Party, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump. But I think it's an interesting question as to, hey, what do you do if there's like a fire alarm, like the teacher said, right? But that video we just saw was crazy on 7 different levels. Don't fire guns, don't not tell people. That's all that is insane. I know it wasn't a real gun, but even that noise was, that's nuts. And so of course that traumatizes the kids. So, and one more thing, look, all this is way, way over the top. And look at this. I mean, now we're all living under the constant threat of terror, and those are kids. But the worst idea is the one that Trump had, and of course given to him by the NRA, which is let's arm the teachers. Now, what if you'd already armed a teacher when that fake drill came in and shot down and she was scared? What if she pulled out her gun? Okay, and what are we teaching the teachers? Because remember, a lot of the shooters are either current or former students. So you have to teach the teachers on which students to kill. Oy.
You got groups of students, and as it was mentioned earlier, there's always classes with the class clown or the kid who wants to act up or go, oh, they're shooting, and that's one reaction. There's a discomfort still with that student who thinks he's having fun. So some kids have a veil. Other kids will wear their heart on their sleeve and be like, oh my God, something just happened. And you have a teacher making $35,000 a year who has to get shot with pellet guns. I'm sure they probably volunteer to be the ones that do it, but you got to stand and you mentioned that teacher in that video. She said, and he came in and it startled me because you're a human and let's be prepared for it. So we're hoping that we train students and teachers well enough that if it actually happens in real life, that a gunshot, they'll go, oh, that's normal. I'm ready to respond.
That's not gonna happen
desensitizing
anyway.
humans.
Well, and so you're right. So we look at effectiveness, and I asked my daughter actually about when she was in high school, were those trainings effective for her? And she said absolutely not. They were terrifying. So it's not effective. I'm a mental health practitioner by trade. We are causing mental health issues, and we're not addressing those. So by solely doing active shooter drills and not adding additional components around aftermath, before math, like all of these things that we need to be training our kids to be able to have the tools to respond. And for most of these kids, they're way too young to have these tools anyway. So it's just not an effective way of protecting our students or our teachers.
I wonder if because the industry that you're talking about, at least of helping people or preventing mental health problems or giving a child PTSD, it's not a $3 billion industry. That may be the problem. So the trauma of putting all this on kids and teachers is not worth the trauma that they would have to incur of putting it on gun lobby, because they would be traumatized. Like, you guys are gonna do something about the fact that guns are rampant everywhere and we need to have some sort of regulation for this? That would be too traumatic for the lobby and then therefore the politicians that they lean on.
Yeah, I think some people who are doing those trainings get a big kick out of it. The whole thing bothers me. I'm 100% against that level of training. I think I actually even come out against, and it's an interesting question, one that should be debated more, but against any training. And so you might think like, no, wait a minute. But I remember it wasn't my generation, but the generation before, they'd hide under their desk in case a nuke hit. What good did that do? If a nuke hit, it didn't matter at all that you hid on your desk. But what it did do was it traumatized a whole generation of Americans into be scared at any moment you're gonna blow up. Oh my God, at any moment. And doing that to millions of kids, I don't think it's worth it. I think you should train the teachers. Okay, this is how you blockade a room. This is what you do. This is what you do with the kids, etc. And they're adults, right? So you know the people in the school are ready, right? But just making all the kids go through even the idea of at any moment you could be shot, I don't think, I'd rather have my kids not go through that than, oh my God, my 7 and 9-year-old didn't know what to do. They're not gonna know what to do anyway. It's like Jayar said, even if they had 7 trainings, they're gonna panic because they're 7 and 9 years old.
So maybe there's a debate on this. Like, libs always want something to be done without adding security guys or guns in teachers' hands. So there we have a poll, tyt.com/school safety. And maybe you're on the line of thinking, hey, don't you guys want something done that says non-lethal? So I guess you can put your voice there, vote which way you want on this. We'll see where you guys land.
Yeah, I am curious about it. I didn't even know we were doing a poll and I was curious. Like, not the extreme training that we showed you, but like, should they just orderly teach them what happens like a fire drill? I am curious what you guys think. Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, Jayar. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.